Hello everyone, I'm Luke and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am bringing you another movie review for a film that I got the chance to see over this past weekend. And the reason why I wanted to see this movie in particular was because it's been one of the biggest awards juggernauts this entire season. It won Best Picture Drama at the Golden Globes, it won the SAG Award, and the lead actress and supporting actor have been picking up awards for their performances in this movie. So, considering that the Oscars are next month, I decided to do my homework and see just how good this movie is. And that's Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Now, I have to say, when I was sitting in the theater watching this movie and letting it wash over me to fully envelop the story, I was picking up on some themes and motifs and morals that were sewn into the movie. But when I got out of the theater and I was walking back to my car and then I drove home, I I started to put all the pieces together. It felt like a beautiful Turkish rug with all the different threads and colors being sewn in together. And I think that this movie is deserving of all of its awards that it has received. And I think that this movie would be rightfully well deserved for Best Picture. And here's the thing. This movie is not political, but this movie does make you think about the current situation and the current life environment that especially middle America is still in today. As someone who lives in California, I consider myself fortunate to not have to be a witness to blatant injustice and racism that happens as intensely and as toxic as it does in other parts of the country. I mean, do not get me wrong, there are still horrible things that happen all over the country when it comes to prejudice and racism and injustice. But there's something very different about the way that this movie blatantly calls out certain groups on their BS. And Frances McDormand's character, Mildred, plays a woman who is a mother who has lost her child, her daughter, her teenage, underage daughter, who was, forgive me for saying this, but it's part of the film. She was abducted, she was raped, she was murdered, and then her body was burned. And when the film starts, it's been 7 months since that incident happened, and the police never caught who did it. And Mildred takes it upon herself to blatantly call out the police on their inadequacy. And she rents out these 3 billboards that are on this side road that's not the main road that gets you into Ebbing, Missouri, but if you end up on the road, there are these 3 billboards that are blatant and clear right in front of you. And she writes a very evocative and provoking message calling out Chief Willoughby at the Ebbing Police Department for his inability to catch her daughter's killer. And this is what the first theme that really hit me about this movie was, is that you as an individual who is not a member of law enforcement, you do not have the right to take the law into your own hands. But you do have the right to take a stand against injustice. And she's doing it in a non-violent way, but it's still causing a reaction. She's not taking her anger and her grief lying down. She is very much still headstrong and will not accept a closed case as an answer to what happened to her daughter. And the brilliant performance that Frances McDormand gives in this movie, I think, is very fantastic. The one flaw that I will say about this movie is the ending. The ending is, unfortunately, the weakest part of the entire film, Because as I explained with that analogy, the different threads and fabrics intertwining together make this movie almost perfect. But then at the last moment, it's not a complete rug. The last couple of strands are not sewn in together. The ending is left very ambiguous, but it's also left with a very ethical question. And I'm not going to spoil it, but here's the thing. I think that everybody in America needs to see Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Regardless of where you are from, regardless of your political views, regardless of how you feel about the police, which is what the main dilemma is in this film, everybody needs to see this movie. Because, and I applaud Mark McDonagh for being so blunt and so brazen about this. And I can't praise this movie enough. I haven't felt this impacted on a big awards contender since last year with Spotlight. Now, Spotlight was a very different movie. That was the power of the press exposing a very ugly and harsh reality about the Catholic Church. This is a movie about a woman who is deliberately calling the police out for their inadequacy to solve her daughter's case and accusing them of wasting their time on petty cases. Like, Frances McDormand has this very powerful line, and I'm going to butcher it. I don't remember it word for word, but she basically says to Woody Harrelson's chief, Willoughby, that it's been 7 months since my daughter's murder. You haven't caught her killer, while at the same time you're busting 8-year-olds for skateboarding in places where they shouldn't be and beating up black people just for the sake of beating them up. Where's the logic in that? And that one line alone caused such a vocal reaction from not only myself but the audience that was where I realized that the genius of this movie is. Frances McDormand's Mildred is so blunt and so brazen that you can't help but resonate with what she's saying. And love is not the right word. I respect this movie on such a high level of magnitude. This movie is beautifully tragic. It's poignant. It's thought-provoking. It's dark. It has its brilliant moments of comedy in this movie. Do not get me wrong. But it wears its heart on its sleeve, and it is not afraid to show you the ugly truth of what happens in small towns in middle America. I mean, Ebbing, Missouri is a very, very small town and a very tight-knit community, as the movie brilliantly depicts. But it just goes to show you that you could take this scenario and put it anywhere. And I will be applauding this movie when it does win Best Picture at the Oscars. I also think that Sam Rockwell and Woody Harrelson deliver fabulous performances on two very different sides of the situation. I also have to say that Lucas Hedges, who plays Robbie, who's Mildred's son and the victim's brother, does a really fabulous performance in this movie as well. Everybody does. It's got great supporting characters that are all well written and thought-provoking. And I will say, once again, with the exception of the ending, which I don't think works for everything beautiful that this movie set up, for the movie to end on, as I said, an ambiguous note and a moral, ethical question, it really makes you, once again, leave the theater thinking. So, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is a wonderful film that everybody needs to see and is worthy of all the accolade, nominations, and wins it has received. So thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Click the bell icon for notifications. My links to Instagram and Twitter are in the description down below. And I'll see you next time.